Hello, brave hearts. My name is Jim Gale. I'm coming to you from Galt's Landing in Central Florida, in St. Cloud, Florida, where we are 100% off grid, demonstrating the solution to all of it, demonstrating the solution to health and vibrancy and tyranny and war. This is a 2.5-year-old food forest. 2.5 years ago, there was literally nothing here but sand. There were no butterflies, there were no birds, there were no bees, there was not anything green, there were no flowers. And now we are surrounded by because my house is right there, right? We've got Airbnbs all through here. And now we are surrounded by 260 different species, different types of food producing plants and medicines. This whole thing is a medicine factory. Everything here, from the bananas and the papayas to the lemongrass, the Cuban oregano, moringa, the curry, the citrus, all of it is medicine. It's the ultimate. As Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine, let thy medicine be thy food. And I'm showing you this because a lot of people are not aware that it's possible to live like this. 4 years ago, I was dead broke, at least in the bank account. But I had a dream. I had a vision of a better world. And now I'm free and clear. I've got everything. I still don't have any money in the bank to speak of, but everything I need is right here. I've got my home paid for, and I'm surrounded by way more food than I need, than my family needs, than our whole community needs to thrive. And how can you do this? First of all, does that sound good? Are you interested in living completely free? Well, you don't have to buy anything from me. Right? Is all you have to do is go to your local nursery and start asking questions. Go online and start asking questions about producing your own abundance at home. And there is somebody there who is going to geek out on it and give you a lot of information. Right? Of course, if you want help, that's what we do. We design and install food forests all over the world. A food forest is like this idea of the Garden of Eden, where you just walk around and there's food all over the place. I was walking through here this morning from my house to the office here, and there's bananas that are starting to ripen. And the banana patches, they start ripening from the top, right? They get yellow at the top, and then over the next few days or week, they get yellow all the way to the bottom. And that gives us the perfect amount of time to just walk by and pluck a banana or two off the banana stalk. Now, I can hear a lot of you saying, bananas don't grow in my zone, right? What I can hear a lot of you saying is, I don't know how. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I will probably kill it. Those are all belief systems. They're all BS, right? They're bad science, programmed belief systems, and they're all bullshit. What do we do with bullshit? We compost it. We turn it into soil. I want to show you something else here. So I'm standing here. This looks ugly right now, but as this moss fills in, and then we ordered several different types of moss, like red creeping thyme and other times, and this whole thing will be a colorful bed of moss. Now, have you heard of grounding? Grounding is real, my friends. So what we're doing here is we're creating the ultimate med bed. I shared this with Dr. Wolf, and I just love seeing him light up, right? So we've got it surrounded by copper. So this is called electroculture. The copper rods somehow transfer energy from the earth to the ether and back, right? And then we've got systems like Dan. I saw Dr. Wolf and Dan just did a bit on essential energy, right? So we've got the EMF protecting system, and we've got this system here that is like a cloud buster or a chemtrail buster. And then we've got this statue. This is not a baseball player. This is the arm of tyranny. That's the British baton, the ultimate symbol, according to the artist, whose name is Hank Willis Thomas. He's a black fella out of South Africa who suffered through apartheid. I've lived in South Africa on a couple occasions. Apartheid has not ended there yet. Maybe the legal system has adjusted, but the culture still lives with apartheid. Well, this is the arm of tyranny, and that's the arm of the farmer. That's the arm of the faithful, the courageous, saying, no, I will not comply with the force and violence of the state any longer. So this med bed that I'm standing in front of, this is where we're going to do podcasts. This is where we're going to lay and ground. And by the way, you've heard of aromatherapy, right? Well, surrounding this med bed this is it's sensory explosion. We've got the Cuban oregano and the lemongrass and the bay rum and the Spanish needle, and all of these plants produce a different frequency. And oftentimes you can pick up that frequency through the smell of it. It's amazing. I've never had anybody standing here that said this sucks. And almost everybody says they can feel it. It feels fresh. It feels alive. It feels like life is growing exponentially right here, because it is, right? I don't know how to grow plants. Only God, nature, knows how to do that. AI doesn't know how to do that. This system is a representation of the wisdom of our Creator. And it's beautiful. And it's less maintenance than a lawn. Like, let's put those together, because when we do, all of a sudden we have light mente, the idea, the light bulb. Yes, we can win this war. Yes, we can overcome the challenges that are presented. In fact, that's why we're here. We're here to demonstrate braveheartness. We're here to demonstrate faith and courage. We're here to rise above the narrative and trust the plan, right? Who has heard that lately? Oh, just trust them. Trust these guys. They're working a secret plan that they've been working for generations or decades. Well, I'll trust the plan when you tell us what it is, right? Let's get the people involved in the plan. If the people aren't involved in the plan of saving themselves, then it's a bad plan. How disempowering is it? This idea that somebody is going to come and save us. Don't you want to save yourself? Like, oh, somebody saved me, thank God, right? And okay, I'm not talking about this idea of Jesus or Christ consciousness or any of that, right? That God, yes, I can understand that God, our Creator, might have a lot better plan. But when a bunch of people who've got wicked histories are saying, just trust us, we're going to save you. Yet we could do this, and they're not talking about this. No, I don't trust the plan, and I don't trust them, right? Was I happy on Wednesday morning after the election? I think it was, I don't know, whatever that last week, a week and a half ago. Was I happy that Trump won? Well, yeah, I was. Relative to the alternative, I'm also aware that that could have been a scam as well. The whole thing is theater, is in my opinion. But I don't want to offend. I don't. My goal is not to say, "Oh, yeah, blah blah blah." Let's just stick to the facts, right? The history of these people who are now set to take the leadership of our country. There's some wicked history there, right? Now, have they overcome it? Have they been enlightened? Have they been touched by the spark of God? Are they now in the good completely? And I'll give you some specifics. Like Elon goes and says, yeah, we should all get vaxxed. Trump created Operation Warp Speed. We've got Elon said that we should basically merge with AI. Elon said that we should have a carbon tax. Really? And these people we trust who want a carbon tax? I just heard that they're going to now make Larry Douglas Fink, the creator, the chairman of BlackRock, who created Aladdin, the computer that runs the world. I just heard that that fella is might be Treasury Secretary. All right, so you've heard of the mark of the beast. No, I don't trust the plan unless now if they all came out in a coordinated way and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to call up the churches and we are going to ask them to demonstrate the Garden of Eden by turning their acres and acres and acres of lawns around their churches and on land that is owned by the state or by the church. And we're going to turn them into a place of abundance. Again, this is less maintenance than a lawn. This is an asset. A lawn is a liability, right? You put these bananas in the ground, and within a year and a half, you're starting to reap the harvest. I don't grow the banana. I just put it in the ground in the proper way. And by the way, this was horrible soil. It still is. We're adding bits of soil and mulch strategically in locations. It's very simple to do, my friends. I mean, relative to slavery and relative to the death, relative to the black rock of our world, right? Black rock is not only the name, it is the intention, right? By their deeds, by their fruits, you shall know them. And the fruits of BlackRock, which the BlackRock computer controls the world. I've heard different numbers, 21 trillion last year or whatever. It's a ridiculous number. And yet, do they use those resources for the betterment of humanity? If they did, we would have a better humanity. If they did, we would have, in general terms, peace on earth. And, you know, I'll just get into some numbers just so you can see what I'm talking about. 10% of $21 trillion, let's just call it $2 trillion, right? $2 trillion. A trillion is a million, right? So they could put $1 million food forest in 2 million places around the world for 10% of that money, that resource, right? Like the church likes to do tithing, right? It's 10% of what you make. Well, 10%, 2 million food forests of $1 million in value. Right? Just for the record, this is about a $150,000 food forest. And it goes way over there. It goes over there quite a bit. It's basically an acre and a half. Now we have 50 acres and we're doing this on the whole 50 acres. But this, and by the way, this food forest has become the nursery and the seed that we're now propagating from this food forest all over the rest of this property. We've planted hundreds of banana plants and dozens of moringa and all sorts of other stuff just from what's already growing here. So every food forest becomes a nursery that you can propagate from. And this idea of give them a fish or teach them to fish, that's what this is all about. This is about inspiring and empowering you to be the change in your life that you wish to see in the world. This is about Bucky Fuller's sentiment. You cannot change things by fighting the existing reality. Who's going to fight BlackRock? Well, me. But how am I going to do that? It's not by screaming at BlackRock or legally challenging them. No, it's about simply demonstrating a better way, demonstrating the solution. When we have mass adoption of taking the poisons out and growing food instead of lawns, we solve deforestation and mass extinction. We solve, as individuals, the likelihood of my family, of myself having cancer and diabetes and heart disease and all of these ailments that plague our world. When we're living in this type of system and eating from it and enjoying it, well, guess what? The odds go way down. All right. So this becomes an insurance policy. And how much is our food bill now compared to what it was a few years ago? It's a lot less. We're 100% off grid. We do not comply with any form of force and violence or any form of tyranny. And to give you an example, we have now built 10 homes. 9 of them are complete and they're beautiful. And we did not ask for permission to build these homes. We told the government, you have lost your authority. And so about a year in, we were done with about 6 of the homes at the time. All of a sudden, my buddy calls me and he says, there's a guy from the county here asking to see building permits. Now, we have very publicly declared that we are free. Everybody knows it around here in the county and stuff. And they're like, what do we do with that guy? What do we do with those guys, right? They don't know what to do. And here's why, because it's very strategic. When I heard that this county guy was here, I was over there and I started walking. I walked through this area here and I went and met him over in front of my house. And I turned on my camera and I walked up to the fella and I said, hi, my name is Jim Gale. And I'm recording this conversation just so we don't mix up any words here. And I expected him to be kind of an ass. And he said, hi, my name's Alexi. And I said, it's nice to meet you, Alexi, but how did you get permission to come on this land? Implied consent is not granted and it's posted. It's both lawfully and legally illegal for you to be here without a proper jurisdictional warrant. And instead of acting like an ass, he said, I'm sorry, the gate was open, so I just came in, but I will leave if you want me to. At that point, he opened up the door. I recognized that he was not there to force me to do anything. He was just there representing a system that has lost their moral authority. So I said, it's nice to meet you, Alexi, but before you leave, I'd love to show you something because we don't want to fight with the county. In fact, we're here to help our community. And very strategically, here's how we're going to do it. So I walked him over here. We're standing next to the statue. And I said, look at all the butterflies. Look at all the birds. Look at all, hear us, feel it, sense it. Look at all the food. I said, we're here to demonstrate the solution to what's happening around the world. The supply chain issues, the cancer, the diabetes, all of these ailments can be solved when we integrate food forestry and natural systems into our schools, our churches, our prisons, into the community land, around the community centers. I said, what you guys represent is reflected in every community development that you are approving. You will allow us as slaves to kill everything. Sometimes you will even subsidize the use of poisons that have been proven to kill, right? There's glyphosate, Roundup. They've already paid over $11 billion And they've got a new class action lawsuit that I believe is for $17 billion. And their lawyers say we'll pay it as long as the product can remain on the shelves. That is pure evil. And by the way, if you're one of those lawyers, or if you're involved in these entities that are creating harm and suffering in any way, this is not meant for you to feel shame. It's meant to plant the seed of awareness, right? So from the inside, like Schindler on Schindler's List, from the inside, you can do good. You don't have to give up your paycheck. Now, if they say you've got to get a shot or you've got to do a particular thing that you know will harm yourself, your family, or others, then it's your moral obligation to not do that. And the more publicly you can get about not doing that, the better, to save your own job. And now, by the way, people are winning $1 million lawsuits because they were either forced to get something that they did not want to get, or they were fired for not. So be one of those people right now, my friends. I know it can be scary, but the alternative is another level of scary, right? So be the change. Faith and courage is literally the armor of God. And then create a community around you. So anyway, I said, you have lost your moral authority to Alexi. And you know what he said? He said, you're right. He had a tear in his eye. And he said, I love what you're doing, and I'll never bother you again. All right, that was a year ago. They've never shown up since. He's no longer working there. He went back to his office, told everybody what I was doing. They're not coming here. In fact, tomorrow morning, we've got a big group of business leaders coming to see what we're doing. And there's going to be like 50 business leaders here from the town. This bench was built for us by Pastor Ross, who runs the largest church in our area. And it's absolutely amazing. Right? In fact, I went to church for the first time in a long time. And besides like weddings and stuff like that. And it was it was nothing like I expected. I really enjoyed the presentation that day. And so now, and this is, by the way, this isn't just ramblings. This is very strategic, my friends. Please share this message far and wide with everybody you know who's a business leader or a church leader or in the prison system. Right. So Pastor Ross, our goal is now to help him turn some of his lawn around the church into a food production system. And he seems very excited about it. So excited, he made me this awesome bench in his backyard. Right. So how do we change the world? The plan that I laid out when I sat with Bobby Kennedy is we integrate. We follow Dr. Martin Luther King's advice. Those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. How? The next question is always, okay, how? Well, you start by doing it. You start by planting seeds. If you've got space in a closet, you can put a light on there. Look it up. Look up online. It's so easy. You can get 5-gallon buckets. You can get a tote. Put some soil in there. You can put some sweet potatoes or some tomatoes or some whatever. And you could start growing food right there in your closet, right? On your deck is better. Natural sunlight is way better than artificial. But my point is, you could do it pretty much wherever you are. And by the way, we have homeless people we've given them starts of a bunch of different plants, especially sweet potatoes. And they're now growing food around homeless encampments. Right. And I've got another friend, Bill, who was nominated for a Silver Star. And he is now going up and down different I-75 or different corridors and rest stops in different places. And he's planting different foods, sweet potatoes, Jerusalem artichokes, and other things in public areas. Guerrilla gardening. Right. My friends, there's a lot you can do. And guess what? It's fun as shit. Like, it's really fun to know that we are in the game. We're doing it. We're not playing around. We're not worried and living in fear and disgust and doom scrolling. In fact, if you're Bravehearts, and you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here, and you know what I mean already, right? It's time right now. Time is of the essence, and now is the only real time there is. It's time to stand up and get really strategic. Just get joyful. Forget strategic. That's next level. Start with taking a deep breath and feeling the energy, the frequency, the vibration of source, of our creator, of our natural world. Walk barefoot on the ground and plant seeds that create massive abundance. Right? This system is a free energy system to the max. Right? And I mean, Tesla eats your heart out, right? Everybody's talking about Tesla, and I love the work of Tesla, Nikola Tesla, right? The real one. I love his work, and it's so profound, and I've studied it quite a bit. But there's a misdirection in this work. There's a deception, maybe not via Tesla, but through how his message is communicated to us. There's deception. And I'm going to give you an exact example of this, right? So these bananas, you can see, I don't know if you can see them, but there's bananas up all over in the plants here, big stalks of bananas. And what do human bodies run on? This is like a machine, right? It's very similar. Call it the divine design of our creator, right? In the image of. So this is, in a way, this is our temporary suit, right? We are spirit. We are more than this. This is temporary, and what we are is eternal, right? But what does this run on? What does our body run on? It runs on calories. Calories represent the word for the energy. Where do calories come from? The banana plant, the apple plant, the plum, the peach, the raspberry, the blueberry, the blackberry, the grape, the avocado. The list goes on. Over 100,000 recognized food crops. A butterfly just caught my attention. So what I'm pointing to here, what I'm surrounded by, is the ultimate free energy system. And you can have them. That's the whole point. Let's reach out to, and I do want to finish the Bobby Kennedy. I sat down with him, and this is like 15 months ago or so, before the Maha thing came about. When was that? Like 3 to 6 months ago? I don't have time very well in my mind anymore. And that's by intention. Anyway, Bobby Kennedy and I sat down, and I laid out for him Maha. It wasn't called that. It was just called the solution to all the world's biggest problems. When a person or a group of people with those resources call up the prisons and invite and create programs around the inmates growing their own food in the prisons, what do you think would happen if that became policy from the top down? Poison-free food grown by the inmates who have plenty of time on their hands on the prison lawns. Well, I can tell you what will happen, because it's already been done on multiple occasions. Crime will be reduced by more than 60 to 70%. When we add trauma healing, I just was on a call yesterday with Dr. Andrea Nazarenko, Dr. Michael Rice, Dr. G, Marjorie Wildcraft, and Andre Norman, and Will Dunn, and Matthew, and an incredible group of people. And on that call, Dr. Michael Rice was sharing of his trauma healing programs that he has been implementing in prisons for about 50 years. And he said that his program resulted in over 90% reduction in recidivism. I think it was somewhere in Georgia. And they had to stop the program because there were so many fewer inmates, and these prisons get funded by the number of inmates they have. So they stopped the program because it was too successful. That was the old world. Now that we're aware of that, what do? We don't allow that crazy shit anymore. We point a light on it and say, no. And then we invite the wardens to be heroes. Maybe we incentivize this over time where, hey, if you want a retirement, then let's see how good you do in stopping recidivism. Let's see how good you do in rehabilitating these inmates. We can create that program. That's very easy to do, and it's logical, right? People should be paid on their performance. That's one. And by the way, I'm sitting with Bobby Kennedy. I'm laying all this out. Make America healthy again, right? Starting with the institutions that are currently enslaving us and causing dis-ease and disease. So the prison system, by the way, Andre has the largest university in the world with 650,000 inmates already enrolled. And we're creating programs to bring trauma healing and regenerative agriculture and everything else to these inmates. So when they get out, they're healed and they know the path forward and they don't want to commit crimes anymore, right? Now let's go to the schools. If it comes from the level of the resources from governmente, and that word must change from mind control, governmente is control the mind, to empowermente, right? If now the new empowermente leadership group, which is a voluntary group, right? It has to be voluntarism. Otherwise, it's slavery. Right? Like we not only don't get permits, but I very publicly will never pay property taxes. You cannot have a free world if we are paying taxes on the land that we steward. That's unconstitutional, immoral. It's ridiculous. Same with labor, right? But anyway, back to the solution to all the world's biggest problems, which I laid out for Bobby Kennedy 15 months ago. And I witnessed him become very inspired. It was beautiful, actually. Bring this same philosophy to the schools, which have become indoctrination systems like prisons. And now we bring curriculum in where the students use the school land in logical ways. I'm not talking about getting rid of the baseball fields or the soccer fields or any of that. We can have more games when this is implemented. I'm talking about working the edges. I'm talking about maybe the students go into the city park right there and they turn the whole city park into an epic garden of food forest, right? Or go to a certain place. Or maybe they turn the backyards around the school into regenerative agriculture demonstration sites. As a result of taking the poisons out of the schools, the school lunches, the school land, and the children growing some of their own food and learning stewardship and how to create self-reliance and abundance, what will happen? Childhood diabetes will go away. Depression, childhood suicide, all of the things that are plaguing our kids, all of those trends that are going in the wrong direction fast will be reversed and the children will heal. How do we know that? Because every time a school implements these programs, it works. I'm not talking about hypothetical solutions to all of the world's biggest problems. I'm talking about proven, demonstrated solutions, demonstratable solutions. In fact, we're opening a school here, and you could do the same. We have no patents, no NDAs, none of that bullshit. 3 teachers, 25 students. The students will be in the field 2 hours a day, probably out of the classroom for 4 hours a day, but in the field specifically. And their classroom will be in the nursery and in the food forest. And they will be tending to the plants. They'll be planting seeds. My 5-year-old daughter is better at planting seeds than I am. You should see her. She's so meticulous. And she was teaching me stuff about planting and what the seeds like and don't like. That really blew my mind the other day, right? So the students will be tending to the gardens. And as a result of this, 25 students for 2 hours a day, it's 50 hours a day. Plus the teachers are part of this. And as a result of that, the families of these students who go to the school will receive all of the food that their families need to thrive from the school itself. And the teachers will be starting out at $65,000 a year, and the main teacher will be at $100,000 a year. And the return on that investment of education will be exponential, because after a couple of years, the student's nursery will be providing so much value that the parents won't have to pay for the school anymore, and they'll be getting all the food that they need to thrive from the school. Right? And we have cows and ducks and turkeys and chickens and bees and 7 species of fish, plus 260 different species of edible plants. So that's a lot of food over time. It takes a little bit of time. Boom. Right? The next level of it anyway, it goes on. Schools, churches, and prisons are ripe for the picking. Right? Then we go to foreign army military bases, and we turn them into food forests, and we create abundance, which destroys scarcity. It's the only thing that destroys scarcity. Peace is the only thing that destroys war, right? So let's create abundance, which leads to peace, and we win. And the Garden of Eden, or a place of epic abundance and diversity and joy, becomes the foundation of our landscape, the foundation of our humanity, of our society. And we win the war. By the way, if you want to come visit, we happen to be on a private 430-acre lake, which is like a miracle to me. And world leaders will soon be coming and visiting. A lot of them already are. A lot of people are. We've had congressmen and senators and all sorts of people come visit already. And there's a mile-long paved runway that borders the east. It's jets can land there. So if you know of any world leaders that might want to come and experience freedom and abundance, send them my way. On our websites, if you want to design your own landscape, your own food forest in your backyard, we've got an incredible team. I've donated all my equity and all my entities to the council, stewardship of the council, which is another whole incredible story, except for my family homestead, which is my family's. Everything else, I'm following the permaculture ethics. Reinvest your surplus to earth care and people care. So anyway, thank you, my friends. Let's change the world. The time is now.